Hello, BookTube. Well, I had a whole bunch of preparatory material to start the video with tonight. I never know if that quite works or if that's even quite expected. Am I supposed to do a Johnny Carson style monologue before I start chatting with all of you about whatever's on your mind or whatever's on my mind? I wonder what's on my mind. What could possibly be on my mind today? I have no idea. Maybe what's on my mind has 38 counts. I certainly don't want what's on my mind to dominate the chat, but I the opening talk that I had in mind to make, there were two, and one is extremely self-evident to all of you, and the other is probably extremely boring to all of you. One, the self-evident one, was I know this is going to sound awful dorky, but I was reflecting just this afternoon on how wonderful this thing is that we all do. No, not that. Kindly get your mind out of the gutter. You're not the spaminator. No, I meant reading. How wonderful this thing is that we all do. I don't mean to sound like, Leonidas and the gates of Thermopylae, but there aren't many people who do it in the world. And it's wonderful. The more I think about it, I was thinking about it today. I don't know why. You'd think I wouldn't, after all this time, that I'd be on to other things. I've got lots of work to do. I shouldn't be thinking self evident thoughts, but I was. And the boring part for you, maybe for some of you, is that my hunger for tech is reviving just a bit. I hit a period where I was using all sorts of alternative tech, and each one of them was giving me headaches of their own. And then I just reverted back to being an Apple fanboy. I just reverted back to an 11-inch MacBook Air and a MacBook Mini, an iPad Mini. And the 11-inch MacBook Air is not new. I don't know. Does Apple make an 11-inch MacBook Air currently? I don't think they do. And the iPad Mini is the fourth generation, so it's not new either. But I just fell back on them. They both do exactly what I want. I don't want them to do anything that they don't do. They don't glitch, and when I graduated from word processors to actual personal computers, I did so through the Apple ecosystem just by random chance. I guess that a lot of people don't because it's a huge step. If you want to jump into the Apple ecosystem, it's usually in a large outlay of money. In my case, it was not, and I graduated into that. So I am accustomed to all the ways that Apple works, and I just fell back into these two devices. I was using them forever, weeks at a time, which is forever for me when it comes to tech. I'm very restless about tech. Uh, I'm starting to feel itchy again, just a bit, helped by, oh, I don't know, well, two things. One, an unexpected checky poo, and two, maybe a bit of national news that perked me up quite a bit. You never know. It's made me wonder if I should either get another piece of tech or put out the call to all of you. Because keep in mind, this is a parasocial relationship, and I am your messiah. So you're supposed to be wondering how you can strengthen your parasocial relationship with a social media star who doesn't know that you exist. Now, I know that the people who study parasocial relationships would look at this channel and say, well, okay, but what the hell is going on here? Yes, that's how it's supposed to work. And yes, they do send him books and sometimes tech, but he also sends them books in the mail and he invites them over for wine and calzones. That's not supposed to happen. He's not supposed to have anything to do with them. It's supposed to be a one-way street. We don't appear to do that correctly on this channel, but maybe it's time for me to put on a tech call again. Maybe one of you has an Apple product, an iPad perhaps, that you don't use anymore, but that still works. Could very well be. But I didn't know if either one of those would really work for Samantha, baby. What you doing? Oh, the baby's got a little itch. So she's scratching herself. We went out on a walk. I am now just resigned to the fact with this weather that's in New England now that whenever we go outside, we're going to be followed around by our own little private rain cloud, like that character on the Peanuts. Even in a bright sunny sky. Yesterday we went out in the afternoon on a bright sunny afternoon, and we were rained on the whole time. We're watching people walk by with smiles on their faces, dry as a bone, and we were both getting rained on the whole time. I was just sort of expecting that now, but we went on an afternoon walk just a little bit ago, and it was wonderful, just wonderful. Something is slightly changing about my little bean. I've mentioned on my channel a few times. A couple of you have picked up on it, but she's a lot more lovey-dovey lately. She's sticking closer to me than usual, following me around in ways that she never did before. And that's definitely true on walks as well. She will sometimes stop just to check in on me, just to schmooze with me a little. When ordinarily she's embarrassed. I'm the parent. She's embarrassed to have me outside. She wants to be just patrolling her kingdom. I don't know what it is quite, but it was wonderful. Just wonderful. Uh, but anyway, so I don't really have any opening things. How wonderful reading is, but you all already know that, and also a little bit of tech itchiness. I kind of want a little tech. Do you have a piece of tech? Do you have a MacBook that you don't use anymore? It's just sitting there. Still works. Still boots up. Do you have an iPad that you don't use anymore? I know it's expensive tech, but this is a parasocial relationship. Money is not supposed to matter. but anyway, uh, let's look at the chat, and that will get us going. I'm sure that it will. Let's see here. I don't want to go too far back, or I'll boot myself up. What's the matter, baby? Do you want to come up here? Go up here so your fans can see you. No? Oh, you just want to stay here? Oh, all right. Kevin J.N. says, hello, Steve and Frida. I am reading a pristine edition of Citizen Washington by William Martin in paperback. A joy to read, but now that night is coming on, I wish it was backlit book on my Kindle. Yes, indeed. Because e-reading is infinitely superior to paper reading in every conceivable way. Yes, indeed. You want a little light. For your nighttime reading, you also want the ability for the text to remember where you are, so you don't have to worry about a bookmark. You want the text to be able to help you if Bill Martin uncorks some colonial era piece or terminology. You can just ask the text what that means. You don't have to ignore it or go somewhere else for it, and a million other things. Yeah, let's say you're in the middle of Citizen Washington and you get a little bored. Not going to happen in a Bill Martin book, but if you did, and you think, I've read a lot of this. I think it's enough. Maybe I'd like to switch just a little. Maybe pick up a Louis L'Amour for June on the Range. Well, you don't need to get up and get across the room. You can just go to that book on your device, but not with a pristine paperback. No, no. Gandhi Angles is referring to Kevin J.N. My goodness, no. Hardback or paperback, only purist here. That's not a purist. Okay. That's not a purist. That's a Luddite. There's a difference. Gagging for Lich Steve. Where's Steve? I'm right here, my dear. Right here. For Stevestream on a wonderful, joyous day that is joyous in 38 different ways. Winterlinda, waiting for the thumbs up. What thumbs up? I don't do emojis, thanks. I don't talk in cartoons. I don't do emojis of any kind. I deal in words. That's all. Words, and for June on the Range, hot lead. Teresa, he's busy uploading 4 videos, writing the great manuscript, and hugging Frida, plus wine and calzone night. Well, the bee is being very affectionate. I don't know why. I don't know quite. I mean, she's always affectionate, but in her own bossy little way. Not lately. Lately, she's been affectionate in very demonstrative, almost yellow lab ways. I don't quite know why. But I did upload videos. I uploaded, I think, 4 videos. I think you're right. I think I did. I did June on the Range. I did Book Trek. I did Mail. It might have been 3. I might have uploaded 3 videos. But I did upload a lot of videos. I did a lot of writing to do. I had a review to file for Publisher Weekly, I think, and also this project that I'm doing that I'm trying to be cavalier about, but it has a deadline. I mean, we are on it's June 9th. So I have almost exactly 2 months to do this thing. And it is the literary equivalent of single-handedly building the Roman Colosseum. So it should be preoccupying me more than it is. And unfortunately, it is not wine and calzone night. It is a Friday night. And for a long time, for years, I used to fill this room with writers and editors and poets and ne'er-do-wells of all kinds on Friday nights for years. My girls would be so excited when they knew that human guests were coming over, not just one, but many. And we would have a long evening of bookish writing talk, and it was wonderful. But I don't have a guest. Micah's not here this weekend. I don't have anybody, so it's not a wine and calzones night because I don't do wine and calzones on my own. I do it purely socially. Jack O'Hara always making a dramatic late entrance to the party. Yes, yes. In this case, it was because I was actually finishing a review and filing it for money. But yes, I don't know how stylish that is. But gagging for lit. Hey, Steve, great to see you again. You can write the word "you." Don't have to use the letter. Just finished Beyond Black by Hilary Mantel and rereading parts of Red Comet Plath biography because I love it. Yes, Red Comet's really, really good. DT, oh, do tell what should be on our mind. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Maybe a tiny bit of national news. Oh, I don't know. 76 people in 10 minutes. So the theory that we had a few Steve streams ago that the reason I got up over 100 people was because I said in the live stream title that it was major channel changes. That theory was only partially right. Right? We're racking up really good numbers without that, as you people realize how irresistible my Steve streams are. uh, Ingrid Fitz, it's is what's on your mind orange? Well, in some federal penitentiaries, orange is the color of the uniform. It's the jumpsuit that you get. I don't know why federal penitentiaries are on my mind. I won't have the bad grace to be ungrateful. I won't. I won't do that. I won't carp, especially when the news is full of something that I predicted for years would never actually happen. I won't carp, even though Roger Stone and Steve Bannon, and those of you who are old enough and have ears to hear, feel free to add in the right words between each of those names. Roger Stone and Steve Bannon are free men. Steve Bannon was not only tried and convicted, he was also sentenced, and he's still free to do his sedition podcast every day. Roger Stone has overthrown 3 administrations and tried to overthrow the country. He's still a free man. Instead of going to prison and being murdered the first time he goes to the cafeteria. But I'm trying to look on the bright side here. Gandhi Angle's not sure about the Miami factor, as it looks like Judge Cannon will be assigned. Yes, rather freakish there. We're supposed to believe that that was random chance. But as quickly as she was assigned, she will be reassigned, or this whole thing will be retried. Ridiculous. Her circuit court has already reprimanded her. She is already known as a bad judge, a disgraced judge. Her profession, her superiors have essentially come out and said, "You are not impartial. You shouldn't be a judge. There is someone whose person and whose broader world you cannot be trusted to adjudicate on." So she can't stay. And if it is actually random chance, she can't stay. She has to either recuse herself or be recused. But anyway, Winterlinda, orange is what I was thinking. Gagger for lit, you pay to become friends with them through Patreon. Yes, my Patreon barely exists. You people don't even know it exists. Every once in a while, one of you will cough up some credit at the Brattle Bookshop. What kind of a parasocial relationship is this? It's a complete failure. But you might have an iPad sitting in a closet somewhere. That might very well be true. Uh, oh, wait, now here. Uh, let's go back to the. I'll know by the little cartoons. Oranges. There we go. Adrian, will you continue Barchester Towers? I love your reading. Yes, I will. I feel terrible about that. Every day I feel terrible about that. It's no judgment on my part. It's not a plan. It's not me saying never again or anything like that. I just haven't. I worked it out of my daily routine. I haven't worked it back in, but I want to. Yes, I want to finish Barchester Towers and continue reading you books. I don't want to just stop at Barchester Towers. I know exactly what the next book's going to be. One of you actually caught the clue that would tell you what the next book's going to be. Uh, let's see here. That reading guy says, finally made one of these. Good to see you. Beth Handy, ecstatic about the news of indictment made my day. Oh my God. Did you did you bother to read the unsealed indictment? I know I am so accustomed to 40 years of watching no aspect of the law actually touch this guy. that I read the indictment and thought, part of me was just jaw agape. If a normal person had an indictment that read like this thing, they would just skip the trial and voluntarily walk into a cell. It's unbelievably damning, just unbelievably damning. It's like what's his name said on Twitter. Trump's two lawyers saw the indictment, they read the indictment and immediately quit. He's having to find new legal representation 2 days before he's brought into court. Uh, anyway, where are we here? Here, Judge and jury says ahoy. Laverne Hodge says hi, Steve. Hi, Frida. Bean is right here. She's right next to me. Judge and jury, what's the difference between an Apple car and a Microsoft car? Microsoft has Windows. Uh, we usually leave the dad jokes around here to the Spaminator, and he hasn't shown up yet. Okay, you don't have to take up the slack. Oh, good. The Spaminator's here. Reading. What an original idea. Yeah. DT, Steve, what do you think of this book by Robert Graves, Reader Over Your Shoulder, as a writing book? Very nice, DT. Very nice. You probably already typed that out as have you read, and then you stopped yourself at the last minute, didn't you? At only 16 minutes, it would be grim if I got a have you read question. I actually like the Reader Over Your Shoulder, but I probably don't like it for the reasons you might think. If you watch my channel and you don't really pay attention, or you've never been over here, this the dwindling number of people who've never been over here for wine and calzones, since this parasocial relationship seems to be done entirely wrong. Uh, if you only casually watch my channel, you might think that I would love prescriptive books like The Reader Over Your Shoulder. I don't actually. Whether it's Follett's American Usage or or Fowler's English Usage or whatever, I don't typically like prescriptive stuff. And The Reader Over Your Shoulder too often verges into that. I love it because of how wonderfully readable it is. It's just, I mean, if any book were going to be, it would have to be. I wish I had a copy of it. I don't have a copy of it. I have a ton of Robert Graves on as ebook, but not that one. Michael K. Vaughn is here. Good Lord. I might still have my Commodore 64 around somewhere if you want that. You're so old. No, I don't want that. No. I want somebody's iPad. Somebody has an iPad out there. Somebody upgraded and they have their old iPad. What I want you to do is factory reset all the porn off it and box it up and send it to me. Anya, I have an Apple Air, but the battery doesn't really charge anymore. Never used it, but sending you from NZ probably doesn't make no, it doesn't. It would cost you $100 to send me a paperweight. Judge and jury, but can you get the book feeling from an e-reader? Checkmate. Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. I don't know what the book feeling you mean is. Before e-readers existed, I barely ever heard, except from old Brontosaurus book collectors, all this falderall about how the smell of books. Are you reading these things? Or are you spraying them under your chin? Is what I want to know. Yeah, the real book feeling, absolutely. The only real book feeling that counts is the ability to get completely lost in a book, so that you lose track of time, you miss your bus stop, you can't wait to get back to it, and that you can definitely have in an ebook. Only without all the other stuff you have to worry about, and without all that other stuff. You're reading on the couch, and your baby's on top of you, so you're too far away from the light. When the light from the windows goes away, you have to stop reading. Not on a Kindle, you don't. Not on an e-reader, you don't. Not on an iPad, you don't. But anyway, that reading guy. Hope I'm not canceled for reading King Solomon's Mines and enjoying it. Not by me, you're not. No, just don't tell it to anybody else. James Rukala, if I may sustain my habit of asking this question, do you recommend any adaptations of The Winter's Tale? That Twelfth Night with Helen Hunt that you recommended was great. Unfortunately, I do not have such a thing for Winter's Tale. It is so hard to do right. It's so thoroughly a product of Shakespeare's time that it doesn't. I don't think it trans. I'm in the heretical minority here in saying that a lot of Shakespeare doesn't really translate. We just reflexively venerate him, and or maybe we're bamboozled by the stuff of his that translates so well that it's like a bullet between the eyes. But I don't think Winter's Tale does much at all. The best performance that I saw of it was decades ago, and it was not recorded. It was at Brandeis University, and it was pretty good. I don't remember. I don't think I still have the playbill for it, but the director got a way. There are a couple of ways that you can make Winter's Tale work for a modern audience, and that director got it. There was a movie. There's a movie called, what is it, Midwinter's Tale? It's got Joan Collins in it and a great cast. It's largely unknown. I think it's called Midwinter's Tale. I don't have, I've got my iPad here. I could probably check. But as to a play about Shakespeare and about putting on a Shakespeare play, it's got Michael Gambon in it as well. He has a great role in that movie. It's not only funny, but it's amazingly good. I strongly recommend it. But I don't have any, media reproducible versions of Shakespeare. No. Gandhi Angles, Michael Rappaport's reaction, diabolical laugh to Trump's indictment is delicious. I haven't seen it. I'm a fan of his diabolical laugh. I haven't seen it though. That reading guy, Steve, is so joyful today that he started a Stevestream in order to get the inevitable "Have you read?" question just to even things out. No, I'm hoping it doesn't happen. Was it RT? I can tell. I can smell a "Have you read?" question a mile away. I bet he started to phrase it that way, and I thought I'd better stop. Gagging for lit, a Steve salon sounds wonderful. Well, it wasn't only me. Those gatherings that were over here, everybody came, and it was lots and lots of fun. And also, naturally, my little basset hound Lucy. She wasn't very little. I don't know why I said that. Uh, she was the star of the show, just waddling from person to person, farting all over them. It was lots of. It's a lot of. Well, you probably know it's a lot of fun. You have all friends over. You break the ice with all sorts of small talk. Then you think, all right, time to settle in. So let's break out the menus for the place next door. Order up a pile of food. I would already have the wine, ready and just laid out on the counter there, and then would start the evening of people eating and then talking up a storm about, did you see who wrote what where, or did what piece did we get for Open Letters Monthly that we're going to read or review, or what do you think about it? All that sort of stuff. It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I miss it. I really do. I would have that every Friday if I could. Philippe, I know you dislike Stephen King. Nonetheless, what do you think is his best novel? I would probably give it to Salem's Lot. I'd probably give it to early work that was edited, that was controlled before he was a monster who got to write his own rules. Uh, Yuri, not Ure. Hello, Steve, and everybody. Jeffrey Clark. Be prepared to have the Oval Office shrink down from to an 8 by 10 cell. I don't think that's going to happen. Couldn't believe what I saw on Twitter, though. I was boxing with David Murphy. Of course, I was boxing with David Murphy about this, and I was sort of telling him, I was sort of telling myself, what I really need to do is just get away from all this and let it settle. Just let it settle. Let more facts come out. I actually thought we'd have to wait until Tuesday for more facts, but the indictment was unsealed today, and it's a horror show, an absolute horror show. But in between when I said that to David and when I backed away, when I actually did back away and just spend the night reading about George Orwell, uh, I spent time on Twitter and it was a big mistake because thanks to Elon Musk, all of the Trump bots, all of the Quisling fascists were out in force. And one of them actually said, well, there's no rule that says he can't be president from prison. Because some of them are already making their peace with that. And another one, I forget his name. I think it was the Pizzagate guy, the guy who said, go to this place and shoot it up, even though they don't have a basement. There's crimes being committed in the basement. Get a live siren there. I think it was that guy. What's his name? Cernovich, who said this is just like the JFK assassination. Absolute drooling, evil, petty moron. I almost went after him with hammer and togs on Twitter, and then I thought, no, he's the type that probably has people who would, flag my account or whatever. So I did. I just kept silent. What I wanted to do was tweet back to him and say, "There's one particular element of the JFK assassination that you really got my hopes up for here, and it didn't happen. It's not there." Oh, plus also, since he's a lunatic, since he's a QAnon lunatic, of course he thinks it's just like the JFK assassination because he thinks the JFK assassination was done by the government. uh, but a lot of them have said, this isn't going to mean anything. It isn't going to amount to anything. He won't end up in jail, and I don't know whether he will or not. Uh, the If this were normal, if it weren't someone who has always skated on everything by writing a check to the right people, by threatening or browbeating the right people, if it were anyone else, the indictment I saw today, there's no answer to it. If you could find a defense attorney, there's no answer to it. It's it's got audio, it's got video, it's got tapes, it's got confessions, it's got pictures, it's got there's no answer to that indictment. If this were anyone else, well, it would be 38 counts, each one of which carries a minimum of 10 years in prison. It would be, your lawyer can do your best, but you're going to die in prison. And it certainly wouldn't be your lawyer can do your best, you're going to lose, and you're going to be president and pardon yourself. But it doesn't matter anyway, because this is now going to be a holy grail. This is going to be a magical football for the fascist party in America going forward from today. That's what this is going to be. Because the fascist party in America needs the Trump cult in order to even get to the primary. So they're all going to have to promise that if I get into office, I'll pardon him. That's the price that we will pay for ever letting fascists back in power. Is that they will have that will be one of their campaign promises. It will be a campaign. I guarantee you that come next year, it'd be a plank of the Republican Party that Donald Trump is to be pardoned. That his entire indictment sheet is to be wiped clean. That would be a plank of the Republican Party. I wouldn't be surprised if in 2024 that's the only plank of the Republican Party. Uh, so I don't know about the 8 by 10 cell anyway. Jack O'Hara, I'm not sure the stream is irresistible so much as simply Steve is irresistible. Oh, please, you'll turn my head. But no, you slathered it on so much that I lost the stream. Here, let's go back to that delicious compliment. Marcelo Silva, hello, Steve. How are you? Do you have any suggestions for a book about Japanese culture? I'm traveling there soon. Any suggestions? Okay, well, those are two different questions. There are all sorts of books about Japanese culture. I've never found one that I really particularly like. But if you're saying I'm traveling, there are any suggestions, and you don't mean a book, there are tons of YouTube channels, tons of them. Just use YouTube. Books are the poorest way to do this sort of thing. I would say don't even use YouTube. Just explore on your own. But the YouTube videos, I'm sure that if you went to YouTube and typed in Japanese culture or Japanese culture explained or we encounter or I encounter Japanese culture, you get a lot of firsthand stuff that a book won't do. I would suggest that instead. Just give yourself 10 hours to binge on YouTube videos and you'll get a lot of preparation. Um, B-roll books couldn't agree more about the dubiously honorable Eileen Cannon. She's not honorable. She's been reprimanded by her own profession as being a bad judge. If there's a defendant you can't be objective about, then you're a bad judge. There's a great episode in Law and Order, just fantastic, where a judge is called in front of other judges and is saying, she's the one who screwed up, winning a case she should never have tried, and his superiors on the judging panel have to say, you're not supposed to care, remember? Uh, she obviously does care. If she isn't recused, she should be removed, and there's the ability to do that in Florida. There wouldn't be if Florida's fascist governor cared about any of this, but he's perfectly happy to say this is a travesty of justice, but see whether or not removes an opponent from the field. Otherwise, he would just shut down the trial and sequester Trump uh, physically, so that the government has to come and get him by force. Constantino666, hi, Steve. DT, ooh, Steve got dark. Do you mean the lighting? The lighting has been dodgy all day, but I think we're in for just a normal sunset, unlike the rest of the Eastern Seacoast. Gandhi Angles, do you think Merrick Garland should have announced the indictment? Not sure if procedurally it fell to Jack Smith. I don't believe that medically speaking, Merrick Garland has a tongue. So I don't see how he could have done it. So Jack Smith finally did. As far as I'm concerned, the thing that I really want Merrick Garland to do is be looking at his phone instead of where he's walking and walk into an open manhole cover. That's what I'd like him to do. Uh, Carolyn Nixon, Jack Smith is my new hero, and he looks the part. Yes, well, I wonder who will play him in the inevitable movie. The other thing is, the movie should happen soon, because this is a fascist majority country. This might feel like a happy day, but this is not the end of the story at all. Uh, in order for this to have the tone of the end of the story, your neighbors would have to be deconverted. And deconverting an individual takes a huge amount of time and effort. It's not the same thing. You can convert a baseball stadium full of people at the same time with minimal effort. The crowd actually helps. But deconverting is an individual process that's extremely delicate, it's extremely long term, and it's extremely time consuming. So the people around you who think Trump won, who think, who are today compulsively saying to everyone they meet, Biden's Corvette, just that phrase, just Biden's Corvette, they each need significant amounts of psychological intervention. They're not going to get it. So, but anyway, he's my new hero too. For today, he's my new hero too. I've waited a long time, 50 years, to see a self-evidently guilty president get indicted, criminally indicted. I thought for a while there, bleak thought, that I was going to have to put up, that I was going to have to be satisfied with a civil indictment in New York City, because I honestly didn't think this would happen, but it has happened. A self-evidently guilty president has been indicted for federal crimes, and a civil trial in New York City, you can look at that. Trump's been in a million of those. You can look at that and say, I'll skate. No big deal. Money in the right places. I know people. I can threaten people. I can have my crowd threaten people. Federal indictment is a brick wall. It just it's an oncoming semi truck. It should be the end of the story, but uh, Winter Linda, see the little cartoon are good for something. Orientation in the chat. Gandhi Angles. Last night, Trump's attorney named Trusty was vowing to vigorously defend him, and hours later resigned as soon as he saw the indictment. As soon as he read the indictment is absolutely unanswerable. It's like I said, in a normal circumstance, a defendant would read an indictment like this and just voluntarily walk into a prison cell. There's no point in having a trial. There is audio, there is visual, there are sworn affidavits, there are pictures, there's a timeline. There's no way that there's any element of doubt here. Uh, that reading guy, would you take an Apple II to go with that book you liked? I don't think an Apple II would work, would it? I have very few requirements for my tech, but it would have to do that. Has to be able to go online, has to be able to add attachments and email them. I don't think an Apple II would do that. I think I've well exceeded what they could do. Gola Muad'Dib, happy Friday, Steve, and then some cartoons. DT, I wonder what's the next book that is going to get Bowdlerized. Publishers faced some pushback from the ones that it happened to, but I don't think they faced enough. So you can count on it happening again. I know what will happen down the line. I don't know the sequence, but the goal, the white whale here, is Shakespeare. The judge and the jury, thoughts on the Bhagavad Gita? I think it's boring. It's one of those cross-cultural masterworks where the gap between the cultures is simply too great. I almost feel that sometimes with the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, but with the Bhagavad Gita, I can't cross the chasm, and I've spent a lot of time in. I can't cross that chasm, so to me, it's like reading. I don't even know, a rug, a plate of pasta. Friday night, every night, every day, every minute of every day. Gandhi Angles, I agree. The judge and jury, it's like saying box wine is the same as bottled. So now there's box wine hate here. Felipe has a string of cartoons. B-roll books, Strange New Worlds, The High Country would work for both Book Trek and June on the Range. Looking forward to reading it tonight. I think you'll enjoy parts of it. Anyway, it's sort of a book in part. It's a book in parts. Anyway, its main weakness is that it doesn't work as a whole book. But there are parts of it that will certainly please you. Judge and Jury, Shark Tale by Scorsese. Okay. J. Scott Phillips. I've long been a physical book guy. Mass market paperback's my favorite, but that new little Kindle has changed everything for me. So handy and portable, and just as readable as any print book. I feel the same. I felt the same way about print and paper books. Of course, I sold them for 25 years. I reviewed them. I got them in the mail all the time. And my main idea, the thing that made me call myself a purist, like somebody up above did, was I won't be able to get lost in the book. I'll always think of it as technology. The tech will get in the way. And that wasn't true. That wasn't true. I read a Trollope novel and I was completely lost in it. The tech disappeared. And the book, a paper book, also disappears. So when they can both do that, it becomes a question of the pluses and minuses other than that. If tech couldn't do that, then it would be a more academic question. But if they can both do that, well, then you start to make a list of the pros and cons of each one. And the pro of a printed book pretty much boils down to it doesn't require any power source. An electronic device, an iPad, requires a power source. Okay. All right. Okay. You're always near a power source. It'll hold a charge for a long time, and you're always near a power source. You're never far away from one, but it does require a power source. And a print and paper book does not. And then you look at the pros for electronic reading, and it's like 20 things. So you got one thing on the one side and 20 things on the other. Monet Doyle says, hello, Steve. Kevin J.N. says, Steve, what's your opinion of home prices on the Cape and your stomping grounds, Martha's Vineyard? How gentrification shaping Massachusetts? Have you seen home? It's virtually impossible to live on Cape Cod as a normal person. It's totally impossible, I think, to live on the Vineyard or Nantucket as a person, as a normal person. I think it's all but impossible to do that. There might be some areas that are holding out, but most of the time the rent is unbelievable, just unbelievable. There are people who do it on the Vineyard and even on Nantucket. There are people who do it, seasonal people who just come, they find somebody's back room. It's barely enough. They can barely enough to live there. But ordinary people just going there and getting a house, like I have a million memoirs of people who did that. I think those days are over. Uh, the judge and the jury. Oh, wait. Oh, I lost you. I'll find you though. I'll find you. Where are you? Oh my God, there are almost 100 people here. Let's see here. Judge and jury. Thoughts on Hunter Biden? I don't have any thoughts on Hunter Biden. He's entirely unimportant. He commands the entire fascist ecosystem of the American commentariat, and he's entirely unimportant. He's a private citizen. None of the governmental allegations that the fascist right puts out about him are in any way true. They're obviously false. So I don't have any thoughts about him at all. DT is intellectual history or the history of ideas. Thanks, I know what it is. Thanks. Genre which with entries worth reading. No. Are there good examples? No. Read a Louis L'Amour Western. Gandhi Angles, I can't be gleeful yet, as Trump always manages to slip the news. It is a natural reflex at this point, isn't it? It is a natural reflex to feel that way. That's why I mentioned the indictment that a federal indictment anyway, but the indictment that I saw is a brick wall. There is no way to avoid it. The only way this is going to, the way that he slips through the news here is for some fascist down the line to pardon him. I don't think there's any way for him to slip the part where he needs a pardon. What I would like, having read this indictment, what I would like is for the Republicans to come forward and say, well, all right, we might not like the politicization of the Justice Department or whatever, but obviously he can't run for president. The idea that the subject of the indictment that I read today is still being considered a viable candidate to be president of the country he so obviously betrayed is mind-boggling to me. Just mind-boggling. That's the slipping the noose that I don't like. Yuri, not Ure, Steve. Which Republican would you prefer to see winning the primaries? Um, I don't mean this Stevestream to be explicitly political, but the Republican Party is Trump cult. It's QAnon. It's entirely captured by fascism. It's with you people are tempted to say, well, there's this Mitt Romney over here or this Mitt Romney over there. No, they are not fit for government. And also they're completely across the board rejected by the American people in huge majorities. So not only are they unfit to govern because they all care about only one man, they care about Donald Trump and that's it. Don't care about government, don't care about the constituents, don't care about respectful money or international relationship, just this one guy. For whatever reason, that's it. That's all they care about. So not only are they not fit to govern, but they're not representative, which is the whole point of a representative democracy is that they're supposed to represent people and they don't. They represent maybe 30% of the population. All of their beliefs, all of their policies, all of their ideological planks, population rejects those, all of them in huge numbers. Except maybe just lately gender ideology. The population seems to reject that the more they know about it, and that the Republicans have been quick to glom onto that. But They don't deserve. They need to reinvent themselves from the ground up. Is what they need to do. The current fascist party in America is not salvageable, and I hate saying that. I really, really hate saying that. In case anybody's new in the chat and thinks, well, he's doing a chat from Boston, so he must be a knee-jerk, cry me a river, East Coast liberal. No, I hate saying that. Uh, Siva Braunstein, Steve, are you angry about Cornel West running as a third-party candidate? Not particularly. No, it's a freak show. I don't know why he's doing it. Well, I think I know why he's doing it for attention, but I don't. I think he must. He's a smart man. He must know that he's only going to hurt the people who are the only people who have any intention of even partially helping any of the causes he claims to care about. The gap between the two parties is not anything like what it used to be. There's one party that's not sufficiently progressive and that's irritating him enough to put his hat in the ring. And then there's the other party that wants to repeal the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 19th Amendments. That's not the gap that used to exist between those two parties. I'm amazed he doesn't know that or doesn't care enough to just pull his name out of the race. I don't know. I'm amazed that he doesn't know that. This is the difference between uh, a Democratic Party that fumbles and is slow and is grandstanding and somewhat contradictory, and Bull Connor on the other side, where Cornel West would not be allowed to own his condo in Cambridge, wouldn't be allowed to teach. I don't see why he doesn't see that, but that is where things are. But I don't think anything's going to come of it. So, Kevin JN, it seems to me the Republican frontrunners know they are only auditioning for vice president under Trump. Yeah, and I don't know why. I don't know why they are. That it's pretty clear to me that Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be his pick for vice president. I just don't know why we're having the conversation. He spent a year orchestrating behind the scenes. There are phone records. Every single one of these Quislings recorded him. They're all want to turn on each other, and they will. He spent a year orchestrating fake electors, paperwork, headings, mastheads, everything, in order to come up the work long enough for him to just sweep in to a dictatorship. I don't know why we're talking about him in the presidency, in the run for the president as a presidential candidate. Anyway, uh, Paul Getty says, "LOL." No idea what that means. DT, what makes good travel writing, especially as you just said, books are a poor way to learn about a culture. Yeah, they're a poor way to learn about a culture, but travel writing can be really well done. You're not learning about it. You might be partially learning about a culture from a good piece of travel writing. But what you're really learning about is that person's experience with the culture and also physical descriptions of locations. So it can be done really, really well. But I get this question a lot. I got this question a lot before there even was an internet from customers of mine. I'm going to Istanbul or I'm going to Seville or whatever. What books should I read before I go? I always wanted to tell people, look, I know you don't travel that much. I know if you go to Istanbul, you're only going to go once in your life and you're only going to stay for a few days. And you really, it's natural, therefore, that you want to absorb, add as much as possible to it. But you're hurting your own travel experience to do that. You're not. It's not a seminar. It shouldn't have anything to do with books. I always used to tell those people, I will make you recommendations. I will certainly give you books if that's what you want, but it's not my foremost recommendation. My foremost recommendation, if you're going to Istanbul for 4 days and you know you're never going to go again, is to go and dress appropriately. Don't dress like a dumb American and walk around. Just walk around a bit. Find a little cafe, order some food, sit there, watch the people, absorb it all. Go slow, in other words, and absorb it all. Really be there so that when you get back, you have the memory of having been there as opposed to the memory of having studied up. And anyway, sorry, long digression there. Judge and jury, do you like William F. Buckley? Do you mean his writings or him as a person? Gandhi Angles, yes, we share the same opinion on Merrick Garland. It's possible. He's very careful, so he probably won't walk into an open manhole. But it's, all I can think when he has been enraging me for the last 2 years by doing nothing at all. None of this nonsense about him working hard behind the scenes. The only thing that I've consoled myself with is what a disaster he would have been on the Supreme Court now that we know what he litigates like. Yuri Not Your A, Steve, do you like John Banville? And if yes, which of his books would you recommend to start with? I do kind of like John Banville, and he's kind of on that list that I mention all the time of authors that I'm going to revisit, authors that I'm he's still working, and usually you have to not be working anymore. You have to be decomposing instead of composing for to get on that list, to get to the front of that list. But I like him. I've always liked him. Uh, what's the one I don't particularly like his entertainments, his police procedural things. I don't particularly like those. I don't think they work all that well. They work, but they very much give off the air of being left-handed exercises. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to be a serious literary writer, but also do entertainments on the side like Graham Greene, the entertainment shouldn't read like left-handed exercises. You should be able to quash that feeling when you're doing it, or have the decency to write under a pseudonym. But if you're going to do it under your own name and just do both at the same time, then don't don't make me feel like you're slumming. So I would I don't have a particular book to recommend, but I recommend that you stay on that side of John Banville, on the so-called serious novel side. Although I know some people that only can stomach him in his police books. He has a new police book coming out this summer, doesn't he? In America. Uh, DT Trump's lawyer was called Trusty. Isn't Trusty old slang for a prison buddy? What are the odds? Well, he's not his lawyer anymore. He's not his lawyer anymore. Trusty's not his lawyer anymore. He read the indictment, the same one I did, and bolted. uh, Gandhi Angles, Trusty looked foolish and speaks volumes about his so-called character. I don't understand why he didn't bolt from day one. Trump's not going to pay you. Yes, you'll be the darling of Trump cult, but they'll turn on you in a minute if you don't win the case or if you say anything even lightly evaluative instead of pure loyalty line. And when Trump cult turns on you, it's not the same thing as when Trump turns on you. When he turns on you, he'll say horrible slander about you on a social media site that nobody reads. If Trump cult turns on you, then uh, your little girl, your 3-year-old, 4-year-old girl, will run up the driveway from the school bus, all happy about her day. And in the course of telling you about what she did all day, she'll mention the man who met her in the schoolyard and told her to tell her daddy that he needs to pay attention. Just that. He seemed nice. He said, "Daddy, you should pay attention." Yeah, he took me aside. We weren't really within sight of the teachers or the other kids, and he told me to tell you that. She doesn't think anything of it, and your heart completely freezes. That is what every Trump cult lawyer is laying themselves up into. I don't know why any of them would take the job. Um, anyway, anyway, Chris Bianchi, hey Steve, what's your favorite nonfiction book so far this year? Very good question. Very good. Favorite or best? I don't know yet. June is actually the time when I start to really bear down. Half the year is over, not half the publishing season. The publishing season is freighted for the autumn, but half the year is over. So a lot of books ought to be firm on their place on my list, for my year-end list. But the one that had the biggest effect on me, I suppose in a way it could be favorite. Maybe not. The writing is kind of pedestrian, but the one that's had the biggest effect on me so far is Planta Sapiens, a book about all the things that plants feel and think and plan and perceive about the world. A bombshell thing. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it and what it means. Haven't been able to do it. Uh, but anyway, let's see here. Michael Lombardo, good evening, Steve. Any chance you've started drooling over the new Air 15-inch? No. 15 inch is too big. Nope. I want an 11-inch device. I had a 13-inch. I have a 13-inch MacBook Air that works just fine, but 11-inch is my ideal size. You take a while if you play around with enough tech. God knows I do. You realize you start to get what your ideal sizes are, what your ideal dimensions are, your real world workspace. An 11-inch device is ideal for me. It's pretty much the size of a manual typewriter. I'm sure that's not a coincidence. No, an 11-inch MacBook and an iPad Mini. Don't know why, but those are my sizes. So no, I haven't thought about the 15-inch Air at all. Felipe, is Anthony Burgess Shakespeare any good? It's fantastic. It's incredibly good. Yes, tossed off, I suspect, as much of Burgess was. But the thing about Burgess is that he's so brilliant when he's on that he can toss off something, and it'll be great. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I believe that it will be featured in a video by Micah Cummins when he finally gets his Brattle Bookshop books in the mail. Because we found a beautiful hardcover copy. I just shoved it in his face. I think he took it. He might have put it back without me seeing. He might have put it back. But it's very much worth reading, yes. And in that book, he is so good on all the individual plays. Oh my, he's so good. Uh, let's see here. Gandhi Angles. Oh, wait. Oh, where'd you go? You got a nice big message. Oh God, look at what is this? 93 people. Here I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna find. Let's see here. The article in the Atlantic on Chris Licht was fantastic, wasn't it good? Wasn't it good? Dripped with blood. CNN also vowed to stand behind Licht. Article came out on Monday. Licht was gone by Wednesday. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It'd be really nice if all these things betoken something. I don't think they do. Uh, Chris Bianchi, what are the thoughts on Disney censoring the French Connection and not saying anything? Is this just the beginning? Yes, it's not even the beginning. This has been going on for a while. Disney is institutionally captured, so it would need to be restaffed from top to bottom, and it's not going to be. There's no they're sort of an entity on their own, so no one can really bring that much pressure to bear on them. I think they risk a lot. The people that can bring pressure to bear on them are the public, the people who are paying tickets to wait in line at Disneyland and Disney World. They are the ones who can change the company. If they start abandoning the company, then the company is lost. And so they run a real risk when they do things like having a man with a beard dress as a Disney princess in order to invite little girls into the princess shopping mall at Disneyland. There, unless you are a blue green haired activist from Manhattan, any normal parent anywhere in the country is going to get to the door of that shop, see that man with a goatee in a princess dress, lisping to your little girl about what she'd look good in a tiara and a dress, and grab the little girl and run in the opposite direction. Any parent would do that. That picture is the living picture of how people used to characterize child predators. Disney's taking and that's not the only example. Disney's taking a real risk doing something like that. If you go to a shift at Disneyland and you want to bring your kids to, I don't even know, the Cinderella, they do live action stuff for all kinds of things, all over the place in all the Disney locations. You bring your kid to Cinderella because that's her favorite Disney show. And on the day at the time when you happen to go to the Cinderella live show, Cinderella is played by a black man. You will lose the public if you do that. And that could happen. And if it did, it would be the end of Disney. But as it is, they're invulnerable, so don't need to worry about it. But how did I even get on that subject? Good Lord, what a ranty Steve stream this is. Oh, I should put that in the title. Uh, let's see here. RTL LTR. Trump Jr. is going to run just so he can pardon Dad. It's never going to end. Well, Trump Jr. doesn't have any real support from the establishment. He wouldn't get any donors. He might claim, like his father, that he doesn't need them, but they don't have any money. Trumps don't have any money of their own, so he does. But like I said, the pardon is the big deal because, as has been famously said over and over again in political magazines, political commentary everywhere, you can't win a primary election as a Republican without Trump's base. You won't be the winner of the primary. Can't win the general election with Trump's base because the rest of the country has realized belatedly that they're nuts. They're your crazy, violent neighbor. So I not only don't want anything to do with them, they got Trump signs all over their lawn, but I don't want to elect anybody they like. Uh, but every Republican in 2024 is going to have to promise to pardon Donald Trump. They're all going to have to promise to do that, and one of them might do it. That's the thing that we're going to have to deal with here. But anyway, Eric Zielinski. I think I know that name. Hi, Steve. I have not seen any of your thoughts on the works of William Faulkner. Do you enjoy his syntactically dense writing as compared to a more monosyllabic style? Thanks for your thoughts. In legal terms, that's called leading the witness. In order to answer your question one way or another, I would have to agree with your descriptions. He doesn't have a syntactically dense writing style. He has a bad writing style. There's a difference. And the writing styles that aren't Faulknerian aren't necessarily monosyllabic, by which you mean simplistic. They aren't necessarily that. Okay. It's a very good try, there, but he stinks. And I don't think I would call Flannery O'Connor monosyllabic. They're very similar. One is doing things right, and one is doing things wrong. So I don't like his work at all. Not any of it. Uh, Giffy Gump. Oh, that name either. How many newcomers are here? Hi, Steve. Currently reading Roman Blood by Stephen Saylor and absolutely loving it. Yeah, pretty good book. Pretty good book. It starts out just a bit stereotypically, but then Saylor starts to get his feet underneath him and works really well. Uh, Margaret Yo, printed paper books have gorgeous covers, illustrations at times, and the physical book allows you to see how far you are in the book. Uh, well, print and paper books have gorgeous covers that are digitally reproduced in the ebook. Printed books have illustrations, yes, and they are reproduced in the ebook. Only you can zoom in on them. You can see more of the artwork, and they can also have more illustrations. And also, if you want to see something, like for instance, you're reading a print and paper book, and someone describes the Great Sewer of Rome, the Cloaca Maxima, and they don't include a picture, reading along and you're thinking, yeah, I'd like to see what that looks like. Well, you can close the book. Make sure to put your bookmark in it first, or you won't remember where you are. You'll lose it because it's going to snap closed like a Venus flytrap. And then you can disturb the cats, shift them over to the side, stand up. Your legs have gone numb, so you got to wait a while there. And then you walk over to the bookshelf. It's all the way over there. You might have a book that has a picture of the Cloaca Maxima, or you might have a tablet where you could call it up. You get into the other room, and your partner is there, and they say, "Oh, you done with your dumb reading? Maybe we can watch a show now." And you momentarily try to remember, why did I come in here? Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. I want to see what this looked like. Or if you're reading an ebook, you can simply press on it and get a picture right there without disturbing the cats at all. And an ebook will also, of course, tell you where you are in the book. It won't show you a bookmark, but it will tell you a percentage if you want it to. I always turn that off on mine because I don't care about that sort of thing. But you can have it there so that you know where you are. Margaret Yo, by the way, how is your summer job coming along? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. We're in an hour now on Stevestream, and I should have spent that hour on my summer job, what you call my summer job. You're absolutely right. And I should be doing this time for that. I should not be being cavalier about this. It's a huge amount of work, absolutely huge. And I have a deadline. But here I am, nattering on and on. Judge and jury, Steve, if you could, can you come up with a mythological story in 1 minute? What does that mean? What do you mean a mythological story? I don't know what that means. I'm curious about it, but I have no idea what you're talking about. David Murphy is here. Good Lord. I heard someone somewhere mention Buckley while on my walk and had to swoop in. And Peter Watson's The German Genius is great intellectually. Oh, okay. All right. That's a terrific book. I always think of it as being more episodic than an intellectual history, but I agree. That is a really, really good book. Uh, yeah. Is it an intellectual history? I suppose it is. I suppose it is. Yeah, someone mentioned Buckley. They asked me, did I like him? And I had to qualify. Do you mean personally or do you mean his books? And they haven't returned to clarify. But I should point out, just so I'm not a complete tease, that I only met the man once. And I don't like his books. I can't stand his novels. They're just, I think, garbage. Not in the good sense of garbagus, but just a waste of time. But even his nonfiction, I mean, he's brilliant. He was a brilliant interlocutor. I couldn't get enough of Firing Line, but his books have never done it for me. Uh, Chris Bianchi, did you like John Huston's Moby Dick adaptation? I thought Gregory Peck did well. Did I like John Huston's Moby Dick? Did I like John Huston? As opposed to what? As opposed to not liking it? Of course I did. Of course I liked it. I loved it. It's fantastic. It's perfect. Kevin JN, I love Dr. Cornel West. He can really work a crowd. Yes, he can, but he can't be elected president. All he can do is make it harder for someone else to get elected president. And he knows that. He's a spoiler candidate. I just hope the person he's going to hurt is going to be Joe Biden. And he knows that. The fascist party in America won't vote for a black man. They don't want him to be free. They don't want him to have physical freedom. They want to repeal the amendments that guarantee him his freedom. Only a handful of them have started hinting about that, but by the end of 2024, a lot of them will be saying it out loud. So all he can do is hurt the guy who is representing policies that at least marginally help him. So he does know how to work a crowd, though. Columbian Thunder, pragmatically, ebooks are drastically better, but personally, the feel of holding a book and the touch of paper is unmatched. Not a unique sentiment, but I like the weight. I feel I concentrate better. Do you, though? Do you really? Do you concentrate better? If you like the feeling of paper so much, why do you spend so much time scrolling on your device? Not reading. You're not using that time to read, but I bet it accounts for an hour of your day, at least. If you love the feeling of paper so much, it doesn't seem to me that you do that. Mm, does it help you to concentrate? I don't know. I think you might be moving the goalpost. Does anybody have a cartoon of moving the goalpost? That reading, guys. Since the year is half over, have you started? Have you started about your best of list? Yes. How's your reading been this year? Any genres have been noticeably good or bad? Uh, reading's been all right. Nothing's really jumped out at me all that much so far. Couple of things. I'm waiting because I'm thinking a lot of big stuff is coming down the pike, and also b, sometimes the thing that you're really going to estimate highly, you don't know right away. You need a little time for it to settle in on you. But I have drawn up. June is when I draw up. Excuse me. June is when I draw up all the lists and start cutting off the dead weight. So here's my biography list. It's got 50 books on it so far for 2023. But a lot of these, I put them on here so I'd remember them, but I can drop them now. June is the time when those lists should be paired away. I'm not saying that I should have exactly, I do 10 books in every category. And I'm not saying I should have exactly five every June because the publishing industry is not even. The fall tends to bombard with major books. Uh, but even so, by the end of June, four of those places at least should be solid. And they aren't yet. I'm still working on it. I'm every time I pull up those lists and think, you should put in a couple of hours work on this. I always think, yeah, but you have this big summer project that you really have to do. I obviously didn't think that to do with Stevestream. Obviously not. So that's flexible. Uh, let's see here. Trish Bovell. I found out today my favorite book sale is going to be next weekend instead of the normal October. I still get the thrill that I had as a 7-year-old finding out the Scholastic Fair is coming. Is the Scholastic Fair the thing you're talking about? I've heard from so many people who have such incredible memories of that. For so many people, the Scholastic Book Fair was the only time as a kid when they actually got to pick and buy their own books. That's just wonderful. That's a lot. I haven't heard a story about it that I haven't loved. Judge and jury, do you hold the opinion that fascists and Nazis were initially left? I don't quite know what that means. I'm not the political savant that some people are. Left? Uh, I don't quite know what that means. Fascists and Nazis were autocratic. One man at the top, one guy, one boss with a capital B. And that's not left as far as I know. But Taylor Brock, hi Steve, would you recommend a book on America's founding not being a Christian nation? Why? What would be the point? The people who are yelling in your face that it was are never going to believe it. They're never going to take a recommendation from you, and you already know. You already know that it was founded specifically not to be a Christian nation. It was founded to be a secular nation. You already know that, and you can reel off the quotes. They're all in the quotable Hitchens. They're all in the Portable Atheist. Uh, you can reel off all the quotes from Jefferson and Adams, especially, but John Quincy Adams, Madison, and all of them. It's not going to matter. The people, if you're talking about this as something to give to other people, it won't work. It won't have any effect. There's no way to tell people that. This is not a Christian nation. This was not founded to be so. And the government doesn't help any, because the government adding uh, God to the Pledge of Allegiance doesn't help any. They're going to look at that and say, well, why did the founding fathers put this there? And when you say it was Eisenhower, not the founding fathers, they're not going to believe you. But no, I don't know of any book. No. If all you would need for documentation, all you would need is Google, just type in America secular nation proof, and you'll get a million websites that have assembled all the stuff you need. Ingrid Fitz, I have an old computer in a box with a cow pattern on it. If you would like, what's the computer? And how old are we talking? And why is it in a box with a cow pattern? Kevin JN, I'm thinking Cornell West back suit and French cuff links is very dude bro. Could be. Oh, the Spaminator has returned. We so missed you. As a conservative libertarian, I just want my fellow conservatives to stop worshiping the man. It's disturbing, very disturbing. If he's guilty, he's guilty. Well, yeah, yeah, you would think that your fellow conservative libertarians would say it's the law that matters. They won't do it. They're completely, you put it right. They're worshiping him. It's a cult. They're completely bought in. If reality conflicts with Donald Trump, reality is wrong. If a special counsel says this guy is dead bang guilty, here's my indictment, and there's pictures, and there's audio, and there's video, they'll say all of it's fake. It's all phony. The idea of Donald Trump that is coming out of the arch right wing right now, the fascist right wing, in the last 2 days, is so comical that you'd think they would see how funny it is and just stop doing it. The idea that the picture of him that's coming out is this pure, innocent lamb. Not only the only politician who has never, ever done anything in the least bit wrong, but the only human being in history who has never done anything wrong. I'm, I'm a pure little mountain flower. I'm surrounded by all these things. Everyone I've ever picked for a job has been indicted or has been incompetent. Everyone who's ever done anything for me or anybody I've ever done anything for, they've all turned out to be evil, but not me. I'm little Bambi right in the middle of it. It's just so funny. Anyway, Gandhi Angles, as a teenager, I was enthralled by William H. Buckley's speaking voice. Well, who wasn't? What is that? What is that voice? DT says, I like Steve digressions. Well, you've come to the right Steve. I guess this has been full of them. Monet Doyle, I have found a new author, Sarah Adams. Do I know that name? I don't know that I do. Siva Bronstein, Steve, you listed the 19th century Russians in order of preference in a previous Q&A, and Chekhov came in last. I know this doesn't mean you dislike him, but why are you hating on my boy like that? Probably I just haven't appreciated him the way you do. Even if I list, I mean, let's be honest right here. Coming in last on a list of great Russian authors still puts you ahead of everyone else. So I probably just haven't appreciated him. I love Chekhov's another one like Dickens. I like reading about him more than I like reading him. Oh, fit to be read. Happy Indictment Day. All. Oh, is it Indictment Day? I barely noticed. Tyler, Steve, you said what? Oh, where'd you go? Tyler. Where did you go? Oh my God, look at all these comments. We're gonna get to them all. We're gonna get to them all. Tyler, you've said that Vita Sackville West could never let a mediocre piece go. What stands above the mire? What should one avoid? For her work, you mean? Your mileage may vary, as kids used to say. I would suggest read Victoria Glendinning's biography of her. Not only is it terrific, but it will give you a really informed overview of everything that she wrote, and probably give you all sorts of leads to what might appeal to you. At least there, you'll know the context. Tyler, also, do you some favorite authors / poets who publish plenty? All of it great. No. Michael Lombardo Steve Bingo, who had 11 inches. What is going on with this chat? The judge and jury, how do you feel about current sundown towns in regards to racism? How do I feel about them? What am I supposed to do here? Chuck Todd style balancing the pros and cons. Isn't how I feel about them fairly obvious? Michael Lombardo, 11 inches for ideal screen size. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yes. I like an 11-inch laptop. I wondered why for a long time, because I'm not getting any younger. Eyesight's not getting any better. And I also don't have really a sense of touch. I really don't have much of a sense of touch. So you would think that a bigger computer, a bigger screen, a bigger keyboard would be better. And I often wondered why I keep why I so love an 11-inch when I'm using one. And I finally realized that's the size of a manual typewriter. That's where my fingers learned to type in the first place. Kevin J.N., Anthony Burgess, YouTube video on Finnegan's Wake makes me question my opinion on Joyce. Now, that is what a great review can do. Still don't know if I'm trying it again. I'm not sure I know the video you're talking about, but Burgess is terrific. He's terrific. Virtually anything he wrote is worth reading. Monet Doyle, I just came back from Disneyland. The Disneyland Hotel was nice. Their outside fireplace was my favorite. Was Disneyland expensive? Is it really, really expensive these days? I don't know if it is or not. I would never go, so I don't know. Chris Bianchi, did you like the movie The Patriot, even though it was historically inaccurate? No, didn't like it at all. Colombian Thunder, what's your favorite, not best, book about movies or film criticism? I well, I realize I'm only 28, but you're probably going to be able to guess. I would give it to Pauline Kael. 5001 Nights at the Movies. I'd probably give it to Pauline Kael. Although I have to say, David Thompson's Encyclopedia of Film, the big, I think, fifth edition of it, the really big one, it's set up like an encyclopedia and everybody has entries and whatnot, but there's a whole lot of film criticism in that book, and it is argument starting. It's terrifically bracing stuff. He's so good. It looks like a reference work, so it looks like something that if you saw at a used bookstore, you might not get it, but it is amazingly invigorating. But Pauline Kael, it's not much that's gonna beat that for me. Although the best movie critic in the world today is no longer writing movie criticism. I have tried, but he just doesn't do it. He is just out of the game. I read movie criticism in some of the magazines that I subscribe to, and I think that was good. Not even 50% as good as a certain movie critic I know who doesn't watch this channel, doesn't know this channel exists, doesn't know this live stream exists. Very frustrating. It's very frustrating. The best poetry critic alive today does not review poetry. The best movie critic alive today does not review movies. Anyway, uh, let's see here. RTL do you prefer paper comics or e-comics? I prefer e-comics, of course I do. I mean, you can pinch the artwork, you can zoom in where there's detail, and there's no storage issues at all. No long boxes piling up and multiplying like midges one after another. I prefer. Do I have my? I have a full size iPad that has thousands of comics on it, just thousands. All I have with me here is my 11-inch iPad Mini, and I think this has only two comics on it. Yeah, this has only 2 comics on it. It has uh, the greatest Batman stories ever told, and and um, the continuation, the next volume in the greatest Batman stories ever told. That's the only thing. It just has 2 of those. But on my iPad that has major storage, this one doesn't. This little iPad Mini, I wasn't paying attention to the storage. I really should have been, because that's the one place you're screwed in an Apple product, is that you can't increase the storage. And this one is maxed out, completely maxed out. So I don't really know what I'm going to do about that, except maybe get another iPad and this time pay attention to the storage. It'd be tedious because I'll have to fill it up again. But the full size iPad, it's just out of reach. I've got the baby right here, so I don't want to disturb her. It has everything, just everything you could imagine on the whole run of the Fantastic Four, the whole run of the Avengers, the whole run of the X Men, the whole run of the Legion, the whole run of Superman, whole run of Batman. Uh, you spend hours on there if I wanted to, and with no long boxes. So I prefer that. Thank you very much. The Judge and Jury. How stable physically and mentally is Joe Biden? He's incredibly stable in both. He's old. He'd do himself a world of good on in the right quarters for polling if he simply told a joke about that at some speech. Said, "Well, yeah, I tripped. Yeah, I wear special ankle braces so that I don't, dislocate my ankle when I'm going upstairs. Yes, I stumble from time to time. Do you have grandparents? Yeah, the same way. I'm old. It doesn't have anything to do with my ability to do the job. This is not a marathon. This is the presidency. Uh, and mentally, I mean, obviously, when you listen to him talk, he has lost a step from when he was younger. Who hasn't when they get to their 80s? Other than that, nothing fundamental at all. No, he's sharp as a tack when he's sitting and restful and comfortable. He's in his 80s, so the work to get to sitting and restful and comfortable is a little more extensive, and the sitting and restful and comfortable and sharp and right on focus doesn't last as long. I would hope that when you all get to your 80s, you'll be treated more gently than the media has treated him. Look at his results, is what I say. If you want to wonder whether or not he's mentally stable, I don't think we should even be thinking about whether or not he's physically stable. If you want to know whether or not he's mentally stable, look at his results. His results are pretty damn good. And I wasn't a big fan of seeing Joe Biden in the White House. Chris Bianchi, when did your love for Oreos start? Mega stuff Oreos. But which you people could send me. I started off this Steve Stream asking for free tech, crickets in the chat. You're obviously not going to send me your iPads. I also mentioned in passing credit at the Brattle Bookshop. You could call the Brattle Bookshop and say, I want to give Steve credit. I want to give him store credit, $20. Since you're going to get something out of it, you're going to get a Brattle book haul. Do you do that? No, you don't. Do you even send me mega stuff Oreos? No, you don't. But I don't remember. Probably when they were invented. Gola Muad'Dib, no, no. That reading guy, where is a good place to start with P.G. Wodehouse? Having never read anything by him, is there a first Jeeves and Wooster book? Not really. Some people, myself probably included, would say that the later novels tend to fall off a little in creativity. So you might want to go on Wikipedia, look, definitely start with Jeeves and Wooster, not any of his other creations. You can go to them if you become a P.G. Wodehouse fan, but you might want to go to Wikipedia and look. The books aren't in order. The plots repeat. Good luck trying to keep track of all the country house shenanigans. Just go to Wikipedia and look at the chronology of the Jeeves and Wooster books and pick maybe an earlier one. Or you could start with the Code of the Woosters, is my favorite. Kevin J.N., I was just admiring your Sam Johnson type knowledge of literature. When did you realize reading was transformational? I don't know about Sam Johnson knowledge of literature, but I didn't realize that reading was transformational. I was taught that by one particular teacher who showed me that it was incredible, that it was not only fun, but as you say, transformative. The world's greatest adventure, the greatest adventure that ever could be. I owe that teacher more than I could possibly repay, and I can't repay it now, so all I do is pay it forward. But that was a long time ago. I've been making up for lost time ever since. I hear a siren in the distance. They're going to keep coming. It's a straight line. As I was telling Micah, this road is a straight line for 10 miles. So you can hear the siren coming long before you have to shout over it. As they run the siren to get through one intersection after another in a straight line, and they always seem to be headed right past my house. There are never any emergencies that stop over there. They have to. They're always on the other side. They're always down there somewhere. But anyway, well, let's see here. Gola Muad'Dib. I love ebooks. I can make the text bigger for my aging eyes. Yes, and a million other things. A million other things. Here's a little device. There are 5,000 books on here. 5,000 books. I can throw it on the bed. I can read 30 of them. If I wanted to, I could dip in and out of 30 of them at a time. No bookmarks needed, no memory needed where I was. Annotations for all of them that I can export so that I can consult them at any time. All on the iPad. This lovely little iPad that is such a Star Trek device that I even gave it a Star Trek home screen. Let's see here. Pesto Pasta, that's a new name. What classic would you always recommend to someone who wants to start reading classics? Oh, no. I take my book recommendations very seriously, Pesto Pasta. If you're new to the channel, you might not know that, but I take my book recommendations very seriously. And before there was a BookTube, I worked in a bookstore and I took them very seriously. I don't make blanket recommendations. Not at all. I I would need, if someone wanted to start reading classics, I would have to palpate them. I would have to ask many, many questions. What do you like now? What do you want to avoid now? What kind of thing are you in the mood for? Et cetera, et cetera. And then we'd have to find a good translation that actually fits with you. It wouldn't be just, oh, you've got to read this. I mean, when it comes to the Greek and Roman classics, if that's what you mean, I always just automatically, when I hear classics, I automatically think the Greek and Roman classics. You might just mean anything that's more than 100 years old. But when I hear the Greek and Roman classics, I always think, well, of course, the things that you have to read are well known. Anybody knows them. Homer, right? Cicero, Caesar, Tacitus, Sophocles, Aeschylus. But that what you have to read doesn't matter. It's what you want to read. I would be asking you a billion questions to figure out where you should start. Michael Lombardo, is the BPL in person still part of the summer endeavor? Yeah, yeah, it is. It really ought to go tomorrow. Are they even open? Saturday, isn't that terrible? I've been away from the BPL so long that I don't have their hours by heart anymore. But I really ought to go tomorrow. I just hate leaving Lily B. I just hate leaving her. When she's being this clingy, when she's being this lovey-dovey, I hate leaving her. So I really should do that, though. I could. Tyler, speaking of Moby Dick adaptations, have you seen the Futurama retelling? Yes. Did their lack of bright yellow skin get in the way of your enjoyment? No. A comedy retelling, sure. The thing that I grind my axe against is the Patrick Stewart Moby Dick. It's just, if Houston makes a movie and it's brilliant and it's got Gregory Peck and it's got a souse to the gills Orson Welles, you don't remake it. Unless you can do better, and you can't do better. But anyway, DT, what should an author do in an ending for it to be objectively satisfying ending? What would be your advice? Examples you like? Well, one of the things you could do for objectively satisfying would be to tie up the plots that you told us about, right? If you were sitting at a fireside and it was your turn to tell the night's story, and you came up with three plots and they were supposed to be interconnected, and you were talking to everybody as the night falls and the s'mores are passed around, and after an hour, you don't connect the plot lines and you don't resolve any of them, your listeners would have every right to say, I hope you get eaten by a bear. And yet contemporary novelists can do that routinely, where I'll get to the end of a novel and say, okay, well, but you spent all of chapter 2 and half of chapter 5 wheezing on and on about character X, Y, or Z. Whatever happened to them? And I know that if I said that at a conference, if I, God forbid, ever went to a reading and asked that question, the audience would snicker because they would think that marks me out as a rube. And the author would say, well, I never heard from that person again. And I'd say, well, I'm not asking about you. You build this as a novel, not as your Facebook feed. So I want to know in the novel what happens to the character. I'm not asking about you. They honestly don't know the difference anymore. So that's, anyway. Gola Muad'Dib. An example that I like, one that always comes to mind, one that I like to use, is the Goldbug Variations by Richard Powers, but I could come up with many, many others. Uh, Ghulam Muad'Dib paper books take up space. They do, lots of space. They also collect dust that we have to clean. They do. I don't have to clean it. My surly houseboy does, but you probably don't have one. I'm not doing extra work. Yeah, the ebooks don't require anything like that. They don't require anything like that. And they just are right there. They're very easy. They can be cleaned up so that you actually own them. You can strip the DRM off them and then you own them. They're not going to go anywhere. So that all you have to worry about is a ready source of electricity, which we don't like to admit, but that we're always with. Or you might have to worry that the app you read on might go belly up or suddenly need upgrading or whatever, which is why it's always a good idea to store these things somewhere as well. Put them on a thumb drive so that you don't lose them all. It's easy to do. It takes half an hour to do that. Uh, let's see here. Gandhi Angles, Stephen King, William Faulkner. Who next to set Steve off? Philip Roth. Am I being set off? It's an overjoyed day. I would hope this is a happy Stevestream. Uh, Reedette. Hi, Steve. Just took a final on the works of Milton. This is a perfect cool down. Yes. What was that like? I wonder. Your final. Very little attention brought to Milton on this channel. Lots of people pointed that out over the years. Monet Doyle, traveling with physical books is a real adventure. It's what books do I pack? What books will I carry wherever I go? I had several books on my trip. I know I'm the weirdest person to say it since I traveled all over the world with books, with print and paper books. But I don't think I'd do it now. I don't think I'd bring even one now. Just I'd take a e-ink e-reader, a little handheld e-ink e-reader, turn it to airplane mode so it's not connected to the outside world. I'd fill it with 1,000 books, turn it into airplane mode, and just leave it that way. Bring a standard adapter, bring the adapter plug for whatever country I'm in, and just do that. I would just do that. Maybe I'd bring one book. You can always count on being near a book, unless you're going to a lot of places I went to. Chris Bianchi, do you think the book House of Leaves is way overrated? Yes. Yes, I do. It's garbage. Uh, Shiva Bronstein, Steve, can you elaborate more on the reasons why you don't enjoy Don Quixote as much as its reputation and place in the canon might suggest you would? I wish I could. It's always struck me as as drastically uneven. The people who report when they read it, I always want my first question is, okay, was your reading experience even? And they say no. The first part was so much better. Uh, it's never worked on me the way other classics do. I recognize its power. I certainly recognize its place in the canon, but it's just never done it for me. Uh, LD currently reading Laszlo Krasnohorkai's War and War. Any thoughts on this author? I like him. I like him a lot. I think I've got a finished copy of War and War here. That reading guy, you sometimes mention you read and review religious memoirs almost every day. Yeah, it's not a business memoir, it's a religious memoir. It was a business one today. How do you get into that routine? Is it enjoyable? Help me understand why you dedicate time to something so niche. Well, the the crass answer would be money. And that maybe 15 years ago would have been my answer, but now I love it. I would never encounter these books. Moving aside for the minute any question of their merit or conspicuous lack thereof, I would never encounter them at all. They would not be in any book catalog. Amazon's algorithm would never recommend them. That's one of the reasons the authors are paying for an indie review on Publishers Weekly or Kirkus because they want to change that fact. I would never encounter them ever. And I am enough of a dyed in the wool book nerd, enough of an omnivorous book reader, so that I want to. Now that I have this steady stream of, I want to encounter them. You never know when you'll encounter one that will be good, that will be genuinely good. It happened to me just the other day. Uh, indie novel that not only did it not look good to me, I thought I would hate it, and I loved it. Uh, J. Scott Phillips. Oh no, no, you redacted your message. Probably porn. Let's see here. Oh my God, I'm nowhere near the end of these comments, but we have to be near the end of this Steve stream. Let's go back to J. Scott Phillips. The judge and jury. What news source for political and podcasts or politics is worthwhile in your opinion? I'm looking for different forms of political news. In my opinion, it's not a source. It's a wide variety of sources. Depending on how much you want to stay informed, it's a wide variety of sources. I watch so much. I imbibe so much from so many sources that I even have time left over for the bloviating opinionators, which is a waste of time. It's a complete waste of time. What I mean, Twitter is not beyond the pale for directing you in certain places. In all cases of any story that interests you, you now have in the 21st century the option to do what a lot of people in the 20th century had no option to do. You can zero in on the primary documents themselves. So instead of reading a New York Times article about the indictment that Donald Trump is facing on Tuesday, you can read the indictment. You can see the attached videos. You don't have to filter them through whatever Jake Tapper thinks is important. You can read it yourself. That's valuable. That's very, very valuable. I do a lot of that. Um, Chris Bianchi, are you looking forward to Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ, the Resurrection sequel? Seems unnecessary. Yeah, yeah, Passion of the Christ Part 2. This time it's personal. I don't. I'm not looking forward to it at all. Colombian Thunder, emphasis on feel. I concentrate better with physical books. I likely concentrate just fine on ebooks, but my brain is stupid. Your brain is not stupid. It just needs to be retrained. That's all. I don't believe that you concentrate better on physical books. You might now, but only because concentration is so trained a thing. This does not destroy concentration at all. There's no way. There's no way to. It might be true for you, not because your brain is stupid. Your brain is not stupid, but there's no way to argue that this makes for a poor reading experience. There might have been a way to argue that 10 years ago. It has millions and millions of converts now, so there's no way to do that. You can't say they're all getting a bad reading experience and just putting up with it. Julie Martin, I agree with all you've said about the MAGA cult. I have some Kool Aid for sale. Unfortunately, at first it struck me that calling it a cult was really easy, but that isn't true. I've seen these people, and they if you offer them a choice between reality and their messiah, they will choose their messiah and just dismiss reality. They'll just say, "You're showing me a picture, it's fake. You're showing me an audio recording, It's fake. You're verifying that they're both true? Well, then it's not bad. Whatever it's recording is not bad. When they would be out in the street with a pitchfork or a board with nails in it if the other tribe's leader did the same thing. And every one of them, that is programming. That is cult programming. If you're willing to deny your family, lose your family, deny reality, visible, measurable reality in favor of your Messiah, then you have been programmed. And the thing about programming is, although it's easy to do, it's incredibly delicate to undo. It- every one of these people will require a lot of time to deprogram that no one's going to give them. Anyway, that reading guy, what is the subject of the book you are helping to write? Well, that is the question, isn't it? I, I'm pretty sure that I shouldn't say any details about it. Although, as one of you emailed me and said, I'm not going to ask you what the project is that you're working on because in a year or two, once it's published, you're going to make it abundantly clear. You're so schmarmy when it comes to things like that. You're not supposed to talk to me that way. This is also a cult, or it's supposed to be one. Anti-Gaia says, Steve, which is worse, Succession or Big Little Lies? Succession. Malcolm St. John, good evening, Steve. Who is the best poetry critic who no longer does criticism? You wouldn't know his name. I don't think you would know his name. Uh, but he was brilliant. And he was as good as Randall Jarrell, which is as high a praise as I can give to anyone. He doesn't do it anymore. Uh, Chris Bianchi, what if you looked carefully at my publication history? I bet you'd be able to guess who it is. Chris Bianchi, what Dwight McDonald book would you recommend starting with? I watched him on Fireland with Buckley and enjoyed it. Oh my God, where's David Murphy? Wasn't he in the chat? Where's David Murphy when I need him? I don't have a starting point on Dwight McDonald. I could probably come up with one, but I wouldn't have the faintest idea. The judge and jury, I'd take an 11-inch Subway over an 11-inch keyboard. Oh, really? Are you a fan of bigger keyboards? Is that what you're saying? Judge and Jury. Oh, no. Monet Doyle. Why do romance books have people on the covers but not faces? I know. Such a weird trend. It's such a weird, dehumanizing trend. Uh, Judge and Jury. Roger Every for sure. Oh, and then you add Ebert. Roger Ebert Every for sure is not technically English. I don't know what it's referring to. DT, who is the best movie critic alive today? Please tell. He doesn't work anymore. I'm sure he wouldn't want me to bruit his name on a live stream. He doesn't do it anymore. He doesn't write anything anymore. He's a heck of a writer anyway, but his movie criticism was the bee's knees. But I'm sure that he wouldn't want neither one of them would want me to brute their name. But it was meant to illustrate a larger point, which is that you don't even when you find really good people, life often just doesn't coincide with them pumping out the material you would love to see. That is true. That is true all the time. That is true of lots of people. Uh, it's only very, very rarely that life and opportunities and that talent level all coincide so that the world is hearing in volume from just the right person. That's very rare that that happens. Paul Getty, Steve, you have previously mentioned traveling around the world by ship with a trunk full of books. Were you in the Navy or working on a cruise ship? I wasn't doing either one. I wasn't in the Navy. I didn't want to see the Navy, and I wasn't on a cruise ship. I've never taken a trip on a cruise ship. No, I was traveling on my own. Just traveling on my own. We'd either work my passage on a vessel if I couldn't convince the captain to, you know, how'd you like some money? How about if I give you a pile of money? If I give you a pile of money, can I not work my passage and you allow my dogs to be on the vessel and you go where I want? That sort of thing. It was all sorts of arrangements like that were possible. Maybe they aren't anymore. Paul Marin is here. Oh, esteemed reviewer, I look forward to fabled super stuff Oreos when I'm between cover shoots, but alas, for not. If you were the real Paul Marin, I would say there'll be an instant on the lips and an eternity on the hips, if you know what I mean. Fit to be read. He was a character in Dai Siji's Little Chinese Seamstress. No idea what that's about. Judge and jury. Sorry for all the politics. I was in a zone. We've been talking a lot of politics tonight. Carolyn Nixon. Fun fact: original and double stuffed Oreos are vegan. Oh yeah, they're vegan. Yeah, you can't live on them, but they're vegan. They are guilt free. That reading guy, it's a crime There is no massive anthology of Cicero's work in one volume. I agree completely. I'm no big fan of Cicero, but it's insane it's absolutely insane the way the classics of ancient Greece and Rome are treated. It's just crazy to me. I don't get it. A lot of the books that are put out by university presses, Princeton or University of California or whatever, that have the endowments to do these things. They have the financial backing so that they can do these things. A lot of the books that they put out are every bit as elaborate. They can't expect to be sold at all. They can't expect any sales at all. If you did a big 1,000 word, uh, collection of Cicero, or 1,000 word, one volume complete Tacitus in a new translation with a new introduction, they would sell. It's half the books these places put out don't sell at all. Those things would sell. I don't know why they don't do it. Um, let's see here. Michael Lombardo, is super stuff bigger than mega stuff? The two that I have heard is super stuff or mega stuff and most stuff. I have no most stuff is not sold anywhere near me. I've had spies look all over the place. I just don't find it. Uh, this super stuff, I don't think I'm familiar with that. Teresa says, "OMG, did your plant die?" And I have two plants, and they are both alive and well. I'm looking at them right now. They're alive and well. I'm amazed. This has been weeks, and they are both alive and well. I have a suspicion that the pothos, I have a suspicion that it's not getting enough sunlight. It's right on the same shelf as the lavender plant, Larry the lavender plant. But I don't know. I get the impression that it's not getting enough sunlight, and I don't know how to fix that. There's no real place that you could get any more sunlight that's indoors. Uh, I haven't figured that out yet, but otherwise they are thriving. I am ready for a third plant. Ryan, hey, Friday night Steve stream. My wife and I are having a baby girl. Any good literary name suggestions? Oh my god. Don't saddle the child with a literary name. Oh my god. Oh my god. Although congratulations. Uh Margaret Yo. So Steve, you have completely gone over to the dark side of adopting e-reading. Oh, years ago. I did, years ago. Not just personally. Personally, I went over when I was reading The Prime Minister by Anthony Trollope on my phone and was suddenly missing subway stops because the technology had gone away and I was totally inside the book, which is something I had thought would not happen with ebooks. But professionally, it was years and years ago the first time when I needed to find a character's name. And good luck with a print book. You've just got to stand there at your bookcase flipping, and I know it was somewhere. With an ebook, you can simply ask the text, "Show me every place this character's name appears." It takes about 5 seconds. Uh, but anyway, you had a question, didn't you? LOL, just got a brand new shiny Kindle Signature delivered to my home 2 days ago. I'm a late adopter. I'm trying to remember what the Kindle Signature, what's its bells and whistles, what it does. I know that I'm tempted to get a new piece of tech, and I know that it wouldn't be an e-reader. It'd be an iPad, an iPad Mini. But I still have a couple of e-readers that I really like. Margaret Yo, how was transition to ebook for you? 5,000 books on your device. Holy cow! These little devices are amazing. They are amazing. This is an iPad, so not an e-reader. I don't have an e-reader out here. I do a ton of reading on this thing, just a ton of reading. Uh, but the transition was very easy for me. I think it was probably helped by the fact that right around the time when the transition was naturally happening, I was also selling these things at Barnes and Noble. Back when the Barnes and Noble, the Prudential Center, was still here in town, and they'd ripped out the whole front of the store for a gigantic nook. That was their e-reader, a whole gigantic nook area. And there were customers up there. And not only were there customers up there, but who were interested in e-readers, but also it was physically located near the entrance to the store. So I could greet everybody that came in and poke my nose into their business. So of course I was up there a lot of the time. I sold the dickens out of Nooks. Not obviously because I had advanced tech knowledge, but for this reason. When you want to talk to me, if you read a bookstore, when you want to step in and say, "Hey, what have you read recently?" Wouldn't you want me to make a case to you for an e-reader? Once you'd been coming to the store long enough to know that I was never ever going to lie to you for the store's sake, of course you would. Of course you would. So I was up there a lot. That probably helped with the transition. Uh, a room for Epsilon. I don't know that name at all. He must be new. Why doesn't Steve like Stephen King? Sorry, I'm somewhat new. A room for Epsilon. You are in my live stream talking to me. You do not need to talk about me. You can ask me why I don't like Stephen King. You're in my own chat. This is not a normal Steve. This is not a normal live stream. I'm not ignoring the comments. I'm not only paying attention to the people who super chat me $10. I don't like him because he's really, really bad. He's lazy. He's unimaginative. Aside from the basic premises of his book, he's incredibly self-referential, especially in his later works. His later works exist in a world in which Stephen King, the author of the book you're reading, is a famous and beloved author. How self-serving is that? It's they always disappoint. The characters are always pan shallow. There's never a cliche that he doesn't like. There's never a slangy pop culture reference from 10 years ago that he doesn't use. It's just immensely unsatisfying. Uh, that reading guy, you spend so much time writing other people's books that you don't spend the time completing or publishing any of your own. You know, that point has been made before, including decades ago. There might be some truth to it. There might be some truth to that point. I am a bit of a freak. I can generate clean prose, a lot of it, very fast. I understand. I hear the implicit reprimand in your comment, which is that I should be paying attention to some of my own books. I don't think that's going to happen this summer. I have a deadline in August, and oh my god, if an indictment is making me want to treat myself to a piece of tech, meeting that deadline in August, which I will certainly do, no doubt about it. Unless I fall myself into an open manhole, I will certainly do that. Meeting that deadline is, oh my God, that's going to make for an overwhelming temptation to get a piece of tech. RTL LTR recently got Marvel Unlimited for around $70 per year and 3,000 comics. Really enjoying. I was really tempted, but I prefer to have them rather than to rent them or library borrow them or whatever. And I have enough comics on the iPad over there. It's just out of my reach, so I can't show it to you. But I have enough comics on that iPad to last a lifetime. So I wouldn't be tempted by Marvel Unlimited or the DC equivalent. The Spaminator's back. As I'm read the meta reading the Metamorphosis, I'm bouncing between a few translations. It's a little more alarming how different they are from each other. Which translation is the closest to the Latin? I would argue that it doesn't matter. I would argue that the important thing is which is the best. I think Horace Gregory beats them all, and he's often not all that close to the Latin. He's doing what he can. But there's no way to you know to uh, there's no way to completely draw an equivalence. So you really are resting on the poetic sensibilities of the person doing the translating. Fit to be Read is responding to Ryan, Baby von Harkonnen, or Gully Foyle. It's uh, I wouldn't give the child a literary name. I really wouldn't. I think, just personally, that the best given names are from the chosen people. If I were you, I would just page your way through Leviticus or Deuteronomy. I would just find some really great names from the Old Testament and just use one of them. I bet one of them will really appeal to you. Uh, or you could go through the Old Testament and pick a place name that's neither male nor female and use that instead. Some of those are wonderful as well. Paul Marin is back with his cheekbones. Has anyone asked yet, how is the Western writing going? If you need a cover, I'll break out my chaps. So this isn't the real Paul Marin. The real Paul Marin doesn't need to break them out. They're always within reach. But it's going well. I actually meant to mention that a little bit earlier up when someone was talking about me neglecting my own writing projects. Bury Him Last is going well. I'm in the swing of it for June on the Range. So whenever I hit a dull spot, whenever my keel grapes against coral during the day, I switch mental gears completely and just write a bit of that, and it works wonders. Daniel Marlette, do you have an internal list of Star Trek books that you include in your personal canon? Yes, both personal canons. I keep a list of Star Trek books that I think are objectively really good. It's not a long list, and then personal favorites, which is usually not whole books. It's usually just parts of books. But yeah, I have my favorites absolutely. Oh God, I lost the chat. Where did you go? That was Daniel Marlette. Yes, there you are. Randy Ray is here. Hey Steve, I made it. Good for you. DT is David Thompson, a fun and informative read on movies. He's pretty prolific, a lot of interesting topics, but I'm not familiar with him. Get his encyclopedia of film. You will not regret it. Find a nice cheap $2 copy or $5 copy on eBay. It's a big, thick thing, but you will spend hours in that book. Yeah, he's very informative and entertaining. Very opinionated, but he's wonderful. Uh, Colo 1546. Hi, Steve. I finally found a copy of Memoirs of an Invisible Man and started reading it today. Well, I wonder how far along you are. The science experiment that goes wrong and renders our hero invisible. That reading guide. Do you prefer to write book reviews instead of researching and writing actual books? Surely you could do both. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I could do both. Yes. Maybe not this summer, but I could. I could do both. Chris Bianchi, I still read physical books. I've tried ebooks, but my eyes can't do it. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. When you were two, your eyes couldn't do physical books, but now they can. It's only training. All of this is only training. Everything is only training. Andrew McDonald, how do you rate Robert Christgau as a book reviewer? Don't think I know enough of his work to give him a rating. It's not springing to mind. That reading guy, what are some examples of when life, opportunities, and writing talent have coincided so that the world was hearing from just the right person? Well, surely you know. Maybe not. Maybe you're new to my channel. I would think that old veterans on this channel would know immediately one example of that, and that is, of course, my best human friend, Sam Sachs, who writes about contemporary fiction for the Wall Street Journal and is the best reader of contemporary fiction that I have met in 50 years. And I was saying that before he got his journal's job. I was saying that when we were both writing at Open Letters Monthly. He's absolutely brilliant. And everyone agrees on that, even if they don't agree with his eventual judgment on the books. And it's not a big trumpety type thing either. It's the kind of thing where it's spread around the critical world steadily, where people would say, I'm just realizing that I've read 20 reviews of this new hotshot book, and this Sachs guy at the Journal, it was so much better than any other review. And now I'm realizing that's like the 10th time where I felt that way about one of his reviews. That has sort of seeped into the groundwater gradually in just the way that it should. An actual organic way of people just telling each other, this guy's really, really good when it comes to writing about contemporary fiction. I totally agree. So it's a perfect example. He's also the highest profile fiction reviewer in the newspaper world. Now that Kakutani is retired, he's the biggest gun. You'd never know it. No one barely ever sees him at any literary events. Doesn't mix with anybody like that. Just does his job every week. You'll get a glimpse of him soon on this channel. Paul Marin is Frida brooding because your guest left. No, no. I wish I could flatter Micah Cummins by saying that, but no, she went crazy. She goes crazy when I bring her a new human toy to scream at. She stomps the floor because she's so excited, and she screams, sits back on her haunches and screams with her head up in the air and fusses all around them, gyrates all around them for the first 15 minutes. And then she hops back on the couch with me and pretty much ignores them for the rest of the time that they're here. Not aggressively or even contemptuously, just okay, you were new, you got me all excited, but that's it. And then the only charming thing is that every time she encounters you after that, it's the same thing. So I carry her into the bedroom. She sleeps all night long. We come out in the morning. She sees that person and goes nuts all over again, but only for 15 minutes. But no, I don't know what it is with her. In the last week or so, a little bit longer than a week, she's been very, very touchy feely, very openly affectionate in ways that she loves me, but she's not effusive like a black lab would be. And that has not been true in the last 10 days. So, uh, DT, how are you doing in these times of inflation? Well, that would be my Surly Houseboys wearing, right? Times of inflation would have to deal with grocery expenses, bills being paid on time, mortgage, all that sort of stuff. And that's him. That's not me. So I don't know. I don't know how I'm doing in these times of inflation. Whoop. Wait, I lost the chat again. Let's go back to where we were. Look at all these people. Oh my God. Should I blast through some comments? Not that I ever show the ability to do that, but should I? Let's see here. We were at Chris Bianchi. Did you like the movie Black Mass? Do you think it was balanced portrayal of Bulger? I hated it. The judge and the jury, thoughts on Moloch as an idea in religions such as the Hebrew Bible. What on earth? What on earth? How am I supposed to do that in a chat? Thoughts on Moloch? No, I don't have any chat-sized thoughts on Moloch in the Bible. Chris Bianchi, have you been watching any Western movies this month? No. Big, big drawback. I should. It feels a little bit heresy to watch Western movies without David Murphy here. So I haven't done it. It's the one aspect of June on the Range I haven't done. I'm actually writing a book, a Western, and I'm reading one every night, but I haven't watched any, no. J. Scott Phillips, did you ever name your new rice cooker? I've got one named Edgar. No, it's just Condi. I just named it Condi. I didn't even name it Condi too. Colombian Thunder, oh man, what were your problems with Succession? I went through it in an earlier Steve stream. I hate its premise, and I have very little patience with people tell me that the premise is the Murdoch family. The premise is the Trump family. And the premise is that you should want to be these people, even though you are being shown how miserable they are, how horrible they are. You should still want to be them. And the sole and only reason you should want to be them is because of money. And I hate that. Great actors, great writing, but the groundwater is poisoned because that's the whole engine powering the thing. Margaret Yo, I am enjoying these streamings and chat, Steve. You are lovely to listen to. A great little community here. Thank you. Well, that's very nice. I'm enjoying it too. Although we have to wrap this up. This has been going on for almost 2 hours, and I can't really justify going much longer considering how much work I still have to do tonight. Uh, I was just in a joyful mood today. Can't figure out why. That reading guy, I recommend you not use the name Ahab for your kid, or if you do, raise them in the prairies away from all bodies of water. You don't pick a name that you think is clever that your kid is going to be beaten up for. Definitely that. Margaret Yo, good night, and sending nose rubs for Frida. She's sound asleep. Just sound asleep. It's as peaceful as could be. I'm gonna have to wake her up in half an hour. I'm gonna have to go out. She can't comfortably go all night from now until dawn. So I have to wake her. Maybe she'll wake up on her own. Oh, where'd you go? Where did you go? LD. I like physical books because I like looking at them on my walls or piled on my table. I do ebooks for travel books, which I read for fun. Uh, you go to the Goodwill and get some paintings for your walls. That reading guy, Methuselah, is a hot biblical name. Same with Nimrod. Yeah, I'd stay away from both of those. Well, read. I prefer physical books because they double as end tables if stacked properly. I can't really mock that since I use a lot of mine for furniture. Andrew McDonald, Robert Christkow's books reviews were collected by Duke University Press as book reports in 2019. I missed that. I missed that completely. I don't have that. That's not one of my gigantic bookcase of collected book reviews. I should jot that down and get a copy of Book Reports by Christkow. Okay. Let's see here. Aberami, I finally caught a Steve stream, 6:30 a.m. here in the southern tip of India. Hello, Steve, and only Steve. Good for you, but where are you? Where are you? Do you not want to say? I know the southern tip of India very, very well. Oh my. Gina Stanier is here. Good Lord. Hi, Steve. I'm watching Picard for Book Trek. I know you hated season 1 and 2. I'd love to hear more about that. They're terrible. They're a complete abrogation, a betrayal of everything about Star Trek, except for occasional moments here and there. Do you watch Star Trek to watch people get their eyes pulled out of their heads? Do you watch Star Trek to watch the good guys kill innocent victims because they can't figure out a way to save them? Do you watch Star Trek so that you can hear Federation officials condone genocide? It's just some good bits and pieces here and there, but no. Blue Laser Ryan, I'm here. We can start now. No, we're wrapping things up. It's not that we can start now. We're ending now. The Bookish Knitter is here. Good Lord, I showed up too late. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. But better late than never. So, you could still watch it as a video, but I just noticed that this is 2 hours and I cannot spare that. I've got a mountain of work to do. Just a mountain of work to do. uh, Bottle Imp Book, Steve, your end of the year lists are essential, but it's not enough. What science books stood out this year? Well, there'll be a list for science at the end of the year. It won't leave anything out. There'll be a list for science. Oh, Blue Laser Ryan, what's up? Never mind the small talk, you. That reading guy, when did you first meet your surly houseboy? Didn't meet him. I bought him, okay? At a blue light sale at Target a long time ago. He doesn't get software updates anymore. I'm stuck with him. Michael Lombardo happened upon the longest day DVD at a library book sale, chock a block with big name actors saving it for next month's war event. Never seen it before? Mm, it's a terrific read. It's a terrific viewing experience. You might want to read it too. The book is really good as well. Uh, oh, wait. J. Scott Phillips, time for me to go, Steve. Me too. Me too. I'm still at the office, but I've got to drive home right past my local B&N without stopping. J. Scott Phillips again. I pulled my eyes out watching the last two seasons of Picard. Yeah, yeah. At the end of season one, you get that moment with Riker and the Starfleet flotilla of ships. I'm sure you know the moment that I mean. It was the only moment in the entire season that gives you that Star Trek thrill of a good guy saying, "Here's right and here's wrong, and I'm on the side of right." Good luck finding anything like that in season two, and then you get to season three, and it's all that. Anyway, that reading guy Steve needs to do his huge homework assignment. Well, not all of it tonight, but I should. Even that, I'm not going to do any of that tonight. I've got other stuff to do. I've got other stuff to do because when you're the books editor of a print newspaper, your deadline is going to come rushing right up on you. You've got to do that piecemeal, or it's going to kill you. It's not the same thing as electronic stuff where there's always a little bit of leeway. A print newspaper is no leeway. If you don't meet your deadlines, there's blank pages. So I I got to start work on that. I've got an entire issue to pull together. Let's see here. Aberami, oh, Anya Kumari, waiting the monsoon here. Oh my. Paul Getty, we need an AI version of Steve to answer questions 24/7. Well, I come close, right? I mean, you have my email, you have Voxer. If any of you Voxered me, one of you told me the other day, you shouldn't gripe about Voxer because you don't include it in the block of information in every video, and maybe you'd get more people to take you up on it if you did. But and I should do that. But it's pretty close, right? This is, as many old friends of mine have pointed out, I have manufactured this into just about as close as the relationship I used to have with my old bookstore customers as this can do. It's just about as close as it can get. Uh, uh, let's see here. Michael Lombardo, don't forget to smash that like button. Yeah, you'll never hear a call to action from me. LD, except for calling for your old tech. And do I get any? No. LD, need to get some sleep. 3 a.m. here. Good night. Was fun listening to you. It was fun having you here. We're wrapping this up. I'm at the end of the comments anyway. Bottle in books. I don't recall ever hearing you discuss Douglas Adams. Are you a fan? Very much so. Yes. Blue Lady Horizon, is it still smoky where you're at? It was moderate here at NC. It never really got very bad. I know Logan issued a warning, but Logan Airport, but it never really got noticeably visibly bad where I am. The pictures from New York City were unbelievable. That reading guy, Steve, you must spend hours on Voxer and in your emails just responding to fans of your channel. I set aside blocks of time to do email. Voxer's easy. Blocks is not like email. A lot of people are asking me, do you have a recommendation? Can you break down this subject for me? I need some advice on this or that or the other thing. Voxer is just people talking. That's easy to do, and it makes an awful good break. If I'm writing something and a paragraph just isn't coming together, go onto Voxer and see what's what, see who's around. Uh, Judge and jury, can you read your favorite book if your Kindle dies? Where does the Kindle book go when the light fades and the shuts off? Are we anything but the motherboard? Jay Nicole, where are you on Writer's Tube, Author Tube, or Writer's Tube? I keep meaning to make videos. I have one in mind that I could easily do. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I can't do any more videos tonight. I've got to work. I've got to write tonight before I start reading. Uh, Michael Lombardo, very smoky here in Maryland until the thunderstorms. I don't know that we're going to get any thunderstorms. They keep popping up in the prediction and then going away. I'd like them. That'd be great. But Yuri Not Ure says, thanks for an overwhelmingly fun Stevestream. Do it again soon. How about tomorrow? Just soon enough? What about tomorrow? Uh, Aberami, Steve, have you been to Tamil Nadu? I'm on the south of Tamil Nadu. I have been everywhere except Australia and New Guinea. So if you're going to ask me a where have you been question, not a have you read, but a have you been question, and the place you're going to name after that is not Australia or New Guinea, the answer is yes. Uh, that reading guy, thanks, Steve, for the stream. All the best to Frida. Yes, my little baby, she's sound asleep. Very near the end of the peninsula. Yes. Have a good night, Steve. It was a fun stream, wasn't it? A fun stream. And before I go, I'm going to go right now. But before I go, uh, I would like a little golf clap from the rest of you about my self control. I did not spend 2 hours simply gloating. I think that's quite an accomplishment. I think that's quite an accomplishment. I think that deserves a round of golf claps. I did not spend the whole thing gloating, even though it's been 49 years that I've been waiting for an obviously criminal US president to be federally indicted. 49 years. And yet, I did not gloat. Not the whole time. We talked about plenty of things. That might deserve a little encouragement. Uh, uh, that reading guy, your video count seems to have gone up since you took that writing project. I know. I warned everybody that I don't know if I'm going to be able to make videos. It hasn't gone up, but it hasn't gone noticeably down either. That's going to have to change. The only reason that's true is because I'm not taking this seriously enough, and that's because it's so far away, and I'm a pressure writer. But it's not going to stay that way. No way. DT, I can't find David Thompson Encyclopedia. Are you sure it's not the Biographical Dictionary? It is the Biographical Dictionary film. That's the one. Yeah. Sorry, I got the title wrong, but that is the book. And what a treasure! What a treasure it is. I'd be happy offer to look for a copy for you. I often see a copy at the Brattle, but who knows where you are? Oh, what's this that's coming? Mm. But oh, I am getting golf claps. Oh, good. I deserve them. I didn't just gloat for 2 hours. I didn't just gloat. On Tuesday, Donald Trump is going to be arrested. He's going to be federally indicted on Tuesday. This guy who has committed so many felonies in his life and skated on all of them. And I didn't gloat about it. It's true. It it it's true that it doesn't get me Nixon. Nothing is going to happen there. That is never going to happen. He got away with it. It's not going to get me Nixon, but it will get me the my own white whale. It will get me something that I never believed possible. When I was writing furious op-eds about Watergate, it never crossed my mind. I never believed that I would live long enough to see a president who was infinitely worse. And I did, and he's about to get indicted. But I didn't joke. I didn't gloat. I'm fine. I'm not going to lapse into gloating now. That's for sure. But anyway, we're gonna wrap this up. This was 2 hours that I can't thank you enough. I cannot thank you people enough. Whenever I ring the dinner bell for a Steve stream, you all show up and we get to just talk about things. I love it. I absolutely love it. I wish I could do it all afternoon or all evening, but it's 9:30 here in Boston. I've got a huge amount of work to do before I reward myself with a night of reading. I'm going to start reading at midnight. So I've got a huge amount of work to do in 90 minutes. So I've got to wrap this up, even though I don't really want to. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I've uploaded plenty of videos for you to watch. You can rewatch this thing, and I'll be back. Could it be tomorrow? Mm, could be. Maybe so. Maybe I'll see you then. Thank you, Booktube.